guys? Welcome to another episode of Curt's Stuff. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite albums of all time. I've been doing some video game stuff, but I definitely don't just like video games, so I figured today would be a good day to talk about music. I was going to do a top 10, but I could only narrow it down to like 14, and I'm not a part of your system. I'm not going to limit myself to 10. I'll do top 13. I don't care. Top 14. Whatever it is. So that's what it's going to be. These aren't in any order. There's no way I could, like, organize these into, like, my favorite album of all time. I just listen to too much stuff, and I like stuff too much to pick one favorite. So, here we go. First is Nighthawks at the Diner by Tom Waits. Tom Waits is great. I only started listening to him a little over a year ago, but it's pretty much been non-stop ever since I found out about him. Every time I buy a Tom Waits album, you never know what it's going to be. Every one of his albums is different, and it's all weird. But this is probably my favorite one. It's live, kind of. It was, like, staged live. Like, it was done at, like, a bar with a very small crowd. You had to be invited or something. But it's really good. It's like a blues, loungy album. There's 18 tracks on it, but like every other track is like a little intro to the song where he does, like a little joke or story, and it's really cool. Tom Waits, if you don't know, likes to talk, and he's a very interesting guy, very talented musician, and just a great album. I highly recommend it. Obviously, I highly recommend every one of these albums because they're my favorite. Into the Blue Again by The Album Leaf. I started listening to these guys a few years ago. A friend showed them to me. And this is one of the only completely electronic things I listen to. It's all written by one guy. It's very good, very peaceful, but very emotional. It's so hard to explain. It's like I said, it's all electronic, but very, very good. This album, I have a few of their albums. This is definitely my favorite. Every song on this is like 5 stars. Some of the songs have vocals, some don't. But I love going to sleep to it. I love listening to it when I'm stressed out. It's just very peaceful, really good music. Yeah. Next is Beyond Hell by Guar. Like I said, I wasn't going to put any of these the number one, but for some of these that are definitely my all-time favorite bands, this is a contender. If I were to choose number one, this is definitely for me the peak of Guar's career. This is a concept album where Guar has to go to hell and fight Satan and all kinds of his minions, and it's really good. Musically, it's just awesome. It's very heavy. This is one of Guar's. If you listen to any Guar, you'll know that they do some really silly stuff and some not silly stuff, and this is definitely not silly. This is Guar. This is violent and over the top and just grotesque and disgusting. It's everything you want Guar to be, and the music is great, and definitely my favorite Guar album, quite possibly my favorite album ever. One of my other all-time favorite bands is the Acacia Strain, and this is their newest album, Death is the Only Mortal. It came out a little over a year ago. I don't even know if I could this is kind of weird, but I don't even know if I could call this one my favorite, because they're just one of those bands that I like so much that I love, every one of their albums. But I think they have a lot of progression with every album, and this is just what they're doing now is so good. It's just heavy and just ridiculously heavy and just very downtrodden. It's a very negative album. They're a very negative band. They're metal, if you couldn't guess. Little disclaimer: if anything's metal, I don't ever really do subgenres of metal because I don't care, and I think people spend too much time trying to define what they listen to rather than just listening to it. So they're a very heavy metal band, and I love all their albums, but I really love what they're doing, and I think they're going in a really good direction. So I picked this one as my favorite. Next up, another possible greatest album of all time is Back in Black by AC/DC. AC/DC is definitely one of my most favorite bands, and depending on what day you ask me, they could be my most favorite band. A lot of people are divided whether they like Bon Scott or Brian Johnson more. I love them both. I have all their albums, but personally, musically and vocally, I kind of prefer Brian Johnson like just a little bit more. And I think this is their best album with Brian Johnson. This has 10 tracks on it, and it's one of those albums where it really never lets up. Like, it's just good the whole way through. And, you know, it sounds like AC/DC. Every album sounds like AC/DC, but there's so much going on with this album where they do the, you know, the kind of bluesy rock and roll feel and the hard rock, and they just do some unique stuff that they don't ever do on any other albums. Like, there's even some, obviously it's AC/DC, so there's no metal really, but there's some metal influences where they just, like, you know, in one song they kind of ride a low E, and it's just like, it's heavy for AC/DC. Like, this is definitely a very good album, good rock and roll album. I believe this is still the second highest selling album of all time, right before Thriller, but I don't know if that's still the case. I think an Eagles record might have surpassed that, but whatever. One of the greatest albums of all time, not even just according to me, but definitely one of my favorites. Pick it up if you don't own it. AC/DC is great. This next one is a metal album. It's the self-titled album by IDeclared War. Really good metal band. They got a new singer when this was the first album with their new singer, and it really blew me and my friends away how talented their new singer was, and even the songwriting is just a lot better than their album before this. Everything is great about this album. The tone is good, the recording quality is good, songs are great, lyrically and vocally it's great. This is just a solid metal album, and I like it a lot. The Carter 2 by Lil Wayne. I get kind of some, like, people joke around about the fact that I like Lil Wayne so much, and a lot of people think it's ridiculous that I like Lil Wayne so much, and I honestly have no clue why I like Lil Wayne so much. He's one of my favorite rappers, and he was kind of the rapper that got me into rap. My college roommate showed me him, and I don't know what to tell you. I just think he sounds cool. I don't think he's a really cool dude. I think he's kind of a weirdo and does a lot of drugs, but whatever. But this album is one of my favorite rap albums of all time. It just has some really good tracks. Like Fly In is so good. Money on My Mind is awesome. There's just a lot of, you know, Nicki Minaj is on this before she was anybody. She was just like a little kid, basically. Really good album, really good guest artists, really good tone. Each one of the Carters, because this is the Carter 2, but the Carter 2, the Carter 3, and the Carter 4, each have a very different feel to them, and you can kind of really tell where that artist is when he wrote it. And this is just a really good, you know, as far as his career, this was a really good, like, high point where he was still kind of, like, had that really gangster image, but he also had that, like, money and power and cool, you know, just awesome. So, I love Lil Wayne. I don't even care. Whatever. Next, probably completely opposite, in fact, is Apostrophe by Frank Zappa. I mentioned Frank Zappa in my last video or so ago because I bought his biography, and but this is the pinnacle of his career to me. It's somewhat of a concept album. It kind of starts out with a story and then kind of falls apart, and then I think the best part is, like, at the end he kind of wraps it all together, but the whole album kind of makes no sense, really, so when he wraps it all together, it feels like he wants you to be like, oh, but you're just like, what? Like, but very good album, so much experimental stuff, you know, the guitars are awesome, he's a very talented guitarist, very talented songwriter, it's funny, I love having some funny stuff incorporated into music. I think Uncle Remus is definitely one of my favorite songs, and just a very good album. Definitely recommend it. He has another album called Overnight Sensation, which was, came out right around the same time as this, and it's the same sound, same feel, and it's very good. But I definitely think this is my favorite. Next is Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. I'm a pretty big Pink Floyd fan, which is kind of strange, I think, because I don't listen to a lot of other music like Pink Floyd. I know for a lot of people there's nothing better than Dark Side of the Moon, which I do like a lot, but for some reason this one just pushes it over for me. I love this album. Obviously, Wish You Were Here, the title track, is one of their greatest songs, but Have a Cigar is awesome, Welcome to the Machine is creepy and really good, and both parts of Shine On You Crazy Diamond are just awesome, such good guitar work. Musically it's awesome. I personally like this more than Dark Side of the Moon, but this, Dark Side of the Moon, and Animals are, probably my 3 favorite Pink Floyd albums, and you should definitely listen to it. It's, classic, psychedelic rock, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. It's a really good album. This is one that not a lot of people have heard of, but this is The Bees Made Honey in the Lion's Skull by Earth, and this is one of those ones where it's like I hate to try to limit a band into a genre, but it's so hard to explain what Earth is. It's, I don't know if you'd call it doom or trance or whatever metal, but it's a really good album. It's all there's no vocals, it's just all music, and it's just I don't even know how to explain doom or trance metal. It's basically just each song kind of has one riff that it revolves around, and it sounds boring when you explain it, but it's so good. It's it's all about having that one riff, and it's usually very slow and sludgy, and it just, as you listen to that same riff throughout the song, there's little changes and evolutions in it, and it's just very interesting music, and I like it a lot. This is my favorite album by them. They have some other pretty good albums, but some of their albums are actually just guitar, like literally nothing but guitar, no drums, and those are weird, but they're okay too. But this is definitely the highlight for me. Here we have another metal band, The Ills of Modern Man by Despised Icon. Despised Icon broke up a few years ago, which is unfortunate because they are so talented. It's one of those times where you listen to them and you're like, how did 5 people that talented even find each other? Like, I love Despised Icon. They're so heavy. They're French Canadian. They have 2 singers, which is kind of unique, and I have all of their albums, and they're all good. This is definitely my favorite. The Ills of Modern Man, A Fractured Hand, or just Fainted Blue Ornaments are really standout tracks, and they're so just heavy and good. And I think my favorite thing about Despised Icon is usually with metal, there's just a lot of anger, and that's cool. I like being angry. But this Despised Icon has a lot of sad sounding songs, like lyrically and almost musically sometimes, where when you pretty much have to read the lyrics to understand them, but you're just like, God, like that is depressing. And that's like my favorite thing that sets them apart from other metal bands, is just how depressing their lyrics can be, and that's what I like about it so much. The next album I don't actually own, which is weird because it's one of my favorite albums. So I just put this in its place so I didn't forget to talk about it. But this is the greatest hits of NWA. But Straight Outta Compton is one of my favorite albums, which is also by NWA. And it's their first album, I believe. I think they had another album before it, like NWO and the Gang or the Posse or something, but it wasn't very good. It was like a bunch of people. It wasn't just NWA. But that was I believe, their first real album with, MC Ren, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Eazy-E, DJ Yella. And it's so just good. One of my favorite rap albums of all time. Fuck the Police is on it. and Parental Discretion is Advised, Straight Outta Compton. So many of their, really good tracks came off that album. And my favorite track on the album is Parental Discretion is Advised, because it's so, with a big group like that, it's hard to have songs that showcase each one of their talents. So you'll have songs that just have Ice Cube, or Ice Cube and Eazy-E, or just Eazy-E, or just MC Ren. Express Yourself is just Dr. Dre. And then when Ice Cube left and they had like 100 Miles and Running, they had some songs on that had, the three of them left that did a good job. But Parental Discretion is Advised is such a good groovy rap song, and it has has 4 verses, and each one of them have their own verse. And I think it's one of Ice Cube's best rap verses ever. It's just great. So I don't know why I don't own it. I just keep forgetting to buy it, but I think it's such a good album, and you should buy it, even though I don't have it. And if you like rap, that's like one of the highest rap albums I can recommend. It's just good 90s gangster rap. Next is Running with Scissors by Weird Al. I did a little Weird Al video a while ago, and this was the first Weird Al album I ever had. This or Highway to Hell by AC/DC was, I can't remember which one I owned first, but either one of those was the very first album I ever owned. And it's, really good. It kind of, when it came out, that's how I found out about Weird Al. This is how a lot of people found out about Weird Al. It kind of pushed him to that next level where he kind of broke into the mainstream. And there's just so many good songs on this, and so many good originals, good parodies. This is like, for me, this is as good as his career could get. And he's been good since then and before then. He's been great to me, but this was just the perfect album that he's done to me. Albuquerque is like 11.5 minutes long, and it's funny and good. The Saga Begins is one of his biggest songs. That's on this album. But the other ones are great too. Your Horoscope for Today is an original, and it's funny and clever. It's All About the Pentiums is really good. I could go down and say every song on this album is really good, but that would be a waste of time. So if you're going to get into any Weird Al and buy Weird Al, this is a very good album to start with. There's really not really any lows. I mean, the Weird Al show theme song is on here, so that's kind of hard to even count as a real song, but other than that, it's really, really good. Really funny, really clever, really talented. And finally, this is another album I don't own, but there's a reason I don't own this one. It's Dungeon Master of Ceremonies by MC Chris. MC Chris is one of my all-time favorite musicians. If you don't have Friends, it's just an EP he did. It's all about Batman. I did a review of it way back when we first started posting stuff on this blog. And it's very good, but I just put it there to remind me to talk about it. But Dungeon Master of Ceremonies, he had like a falling out or something with his old producer, I think. I don't know much about it. So for a long time, like, his whole back catalog, like half of his albums weren't available to buy. They were just for download. And I think recently they've been put back on the website, so I could buy it. I just haven't yet. I don't know why. I should. But great album. It's MC Chris is a nerd rapper, but he kind of had this point in the middle-ish of his, earlier, or in the middle of his career where he was pretty much just a rapper. And I like all his albums, but Dungeon Master of Ceremonies is when he first kind of turned back to that, like, yeah, I'm a nerd rapper. There's songs about, some video games, and it's just, just a great album. There's tons of good songs on it. I don't even really know what to say about it. It's my favorite MC Chris album. If you're going to listen to MC Chris, you could get a bunch of his albums, but it's really kind of... It's a good first MC Chris album because there's kind of that distinction between, the later stuff that's nerdy, straight up about Batman, and the earlier stuff, which is some of it, like Fet's Vet was on his first album, which is about Star Wars, but it's more, rap culture stuff. And but that Dungeon Master of Ceremonies is a good first album where it's got a little bit of both. The skits are really funny. all of his albums have lots of skits that are kind of long, and some people think they're annoying, but I think they're hilarious. And it's just a great first album to get into. Yeah, so any of these albums are really good. All of them are really good. I don't even know how many I did. I think it was 14, but I don't know. These are my favorite albums. I know that it doesn't help that I listen to so much stuff because it's kind of hard to, you know, you can't look at these, I don't think, and be like, I think Curt would like that. Maybe I'll listen to that. Not that you would anyway, because I'm not that cool, but whatever. Those are my favorite albums, and I just thought it would be good to do a stuff episode about my favorite albums and let you know why they're my favorite. So if you have any interest to check out new music, you should definitely check out any of these. So cool. Thanks for watching. Check out the blog, if you will. We have more stuff coming. More stuff with other people, too. I know I've been doing a lot of videos lately. Dalton is gone. He's in Minnesota, but he's coming back soon. Then, you know, we're going to be getting together with Mike and Dalton, and our friend Fickett is going to be helping us with some stuff. So he might be a member, or whatever you want to call it, of our little blog. Yeah, thanks for checking it out. Comment if you have any comments or if you have any questions. Follow me on Twitter if you want. Follow the blog, please. Cool. Thanks for checking it out.